Swiftly moving on to the next forum, our fourth industrial forum on energy sector, the switching to net zero carbon energy systems. May I have the pleasure to invite Tawfiq Hamid, Chief Revenue Officer of Veridapt Pty Limited, to chair this session. There you are, sir. He's been preparing all day, so ladies and gentlemen, please give him your full attention. Then our panelists, Mr. Mukhtar bin Suhaili, Chief Operating Officer of Epic Group, Mr. Sukarno Aik, Chief Executive Officer of Signify Malaysia, Dr. Afiq Rahmat, Manager, Energy Transition Sarawak Shell Malaysia, Mr. Unikrishnan R. Unitan, Co-founder and CEO, DBIZ, and President of the Malaysian Biodiesel Association. And last of all, Mr. Datuk Leong Kin Moon, President, Malaysia Biomass Industries Confederation. And as before, as soon as you've taken your seats, you can proceed immediately.
Periodic table, yeah.
Okay, great. This is the last panel for the afternoon, so the only thing I can promise you is thank you for sticking around. It is going to be power-packed. First of all, I just wanted to start off with a bunch of thank yous. Dirk, thank you for a long journey, about a couple of years that we've been talking and that brought us here, so we really appreciate it on behalf of Veridapt. Supun, thank you for all the energy the last month or so. It's been very exciting working with you. Dinusha and Denise, thank you for all the prep work. It was really remarkable working with you. And Maya, thank you for keeping the tempo this afternoon. It's really been a remarkable conference, and I know we're not quite at the finish line, but we're almost there. Look, I'll just start off as you saw the title of the panel is Switching to Net Zero Carbon Systems. That can mean a lot of different things. A lot of times we talk in generalities, and when we were prepping with this esteemed panel, we really wanted them to get to the crux of what impact each of their companies are making. So I'll just spend a couple of minutes doing intros, and then I'll turn it over to them. But there's basically three categories of companies here represented, or organizations rather, represented here. If you look at Mr. Mukhtar and Dr. Afiq, they come from Epic and Shell, respectively, companies whose heritage has traditionally been in hydrocarbons and traditional fuels, but it's very interesting the role that they're taking in the world's move to net zero emissions. Sukanto with Signify, most of you will identify with Philips Lighting, even though it's been a few years since that branding has changed. I think you're in a league of your own as far as your role here on this panel. And then lastly, Dato Leong and Unitan. I think both of you representing industry organizations. I know, Unitan, you also represent your own organization a little bit. So you'll get three very different perspectives. So just to get started, I'd like to turn it over to each of the panelists and give them 5 minutes to present you with a little bit of a really crisp presentation. I looked through everyone. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll get a background of their organization and their initiatives and the impact they're making in the world's move to net zero emissions. And then subsequently, as usual, we'll combine some audience questions and some questions that we have from the organizing committee. So to start off, Mukhtar, if you will take over and do the first presentation.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. How are you today? Good? May I have a show of hand, how many of you from the oil and gas industry? Or previously worked for oil and gas industry or plan to work for oil and gas industry? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you very much. I think almost 20% from oil and gas industry. So just to start with, maybe some of you ask why I wear this baju Melayu complete with samping and songkok. Actually, I just came back from another event basically, where I received this leadership, Titanium Leadership Award from Malaysian Society of Occupational Safety and Health. So from the Ministry of Human Resources. Yeah. When I joined Shell back in 2015, 2005, sorry, back in 2005. My superior told me that the oil and gas reserve in Malaysia will last only for the next 40 years. And now, when I interview some of the candidates to work for my company, I'm telling them the same thing, that the oil and gas industry will still be available for the next 40 years. I attended recently the Energy Asia, where most of the big companies in oil and gas gather together to discuss about the future of oil and gas. I think the sentiment is that oil and gas industry is here to stay, but I think there is motivation for energy transition towards renewable energy, and most of the companies now are actually moving forward or trying to adapt renewable energy. So let me introduce my company. How many of you have seen this photo? This is Kemaman Supply Base, by the way, in Kemaman, Terengganu. And then Epic Berhad, we are a Terengganu GLC, a member of Terengganu Incorporated Group, operating as integrated oil and gas company, both onshore and offshore, as well as upstream and downstream. And we have 5 services, you can see it from the slides. And if you see these services, it's provided by 8 of our subsidiaries. Our oldest subsidiaries is Pengkalan Bekalan Kemaman Senam Berhad, established back in 1981, the year I was born. So this is really an oil and gas company. But our youngest company, or the newest addition to the group, is Epic Solar Senam Berhad. We are one of the pioneers of solar farm, large solar farm in Malaysia. We participated in large-scale solar farm photovoltaic 1, LSSP1, back in 2018. So we have a solar farm, 73 acres, producing 18.5 megawatts of energy. And besides that, we also port management, involved in port management, where we are the concession owner as well as the operator for Port Kemaman. And we have a few other companies, engineering and marine services companies. So this is our framework or aspiration related to sustainability. It's very interesting because so far throughout my career, I've been involved in 4 industries. I started my career with Produa Auto Corporation Senam Berhad, automotive industry. When I joined Produa at the point of time, nobody's talking about electrical vehicle. But now you can see the shift. Most of the companies now is producing electric vehicle or EV. And then after that, I joined Shell for 15 years. I was with Shell for 15 years. Used to be my colleague before, Dr. Afiq is here, so I don't want to talk about Shell because Dr. Afiq will talk about it more later on. And then I was the chairman for Malaysian Palm Oil Certification Council, who is the one that manages the Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil. And then I was the CEO for Malaysian Timber Council. So there are a lot of familiar faces here, Josh Yap, I see VKM just now and a few others. And we are talking about sustainability. MPOCC talking about sustainability, MTC talking about sustainability. And in Epic Berhad, we are also talking about sustainability. And we have our business sustainability aspiration. And we have 3 pillars about sustainable environmental sustenance, positive social impact, as well as sustainable governance. And as a Terengganu state level government linked company, we have this foundation of Sharia compliance in line with the state tagline of Terengganu Maju Berkat Sejahtera. So I just give you an overview because I have only 5 minutes, but I'll talk more during this question and answer session later, or if you have any questions. But I just want to highlight the key initiative that we have. A large solar farm I mentioned just now, it's producing 18.5 megawatts. And the interesting part I want to share with you, the number of renewable energy that we produce now is 3 times the energy that we consume. 3 times. So this is the statistic you can see from here. Oh, it's not the PowerPoint, it's not the pointer. To go back is red, right? Okay. And then we also have some initiative. Recently we launched our ESCA. ESCA is solar-powered buggy. And we're going to use this for our port starting next year. And then just any golfer here, or any golf club owner here, if you want to use our buggy, please come and engage me later on. We are more than happy to supply it to you with the, not really the cheap price, right price, yeah? About this ESCA. We also have this aspiration to be green port, to get green port certification by 2023. And we are now going to have this, what we call it, green ship recycling facilities. There's none in Malaysia, a green ship recycling facilities. The nearest to us is in Brunei, as well as in Batam, Indonesia. So we're planning for this green ship recycling facilities and few other initiatives that I think I will share more during the question and answer session. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mukhtar. That was great. Next, I'd like to ask Sukanto, who's CEO of Signify Malaysia, to offer his presentation, please.
Hi, good afternoon. Working, right? Okay. Especially people at the back. I know the last session here, so good to check. Thanks, Taufik, for doing the introductions and also mentioning about Signify. Yes, I normally have to start with that Signify is the new corporate identity for what you know have known as Philips Lighting. We just celebrated 5 years of our new corporate identity, but of course Philips has been in existence for 130 years, so it takes time, and I have to spend the first couple of seconds to at least mention about that. More importantly, why I'm talking about this is we started this journey on sustainability and low carbon around the time we were getting our new corporate identity. So we identified the climate change as the most pressing issue of our time, and we decided to invest in a low carbon future. So we made our vision to make our purpose to unlock the extraordinary potential of light for better lives and a better world and a brighter world. Sorry, brighter lives and a better world. I keep getting that wrong. So before I get to the low carbon thing, need to mention that we made sustainability as the core of our strategic frontier. The reason, and I'll touch upon this a little later, is that the climate action was part of it, but we were also looking at other areas of sustainability as developed by the UN Sustainability Development Goals. I will not touch upon the others today, but more focus on the climate action that we have been taking. You know, there has been a lot of talking about this, and I think the current term is greenwashing. A lot of corporates, a lot of organizations are talking about this. But we are happy to report that as of 2022, globally, we became the first lighting company to become carbon neutral across all our operations. Of course, this didn't happen overnight. As I said, when we were doing our corporate name change around 2016, when I think the Paris discussions were happening, we embarked on a journey to achieve carbon neutrality. So there were two parts of it. The primary focus, as you know, the expectation is that a majority of it, you will reduce your own emissions, your own carbon footprint. And then, yeah, we are a large manufacturing organization spread across multiple countries globally. There are some offsetting ones. So we focused on each one of these areas. So as you see in the manufacturing, as I said, we manufacture our lighting products. So we reduced by 46%. This is the report as on 2020 we are talking about, and we have continued to improve on that through, of course, using LED luminaires, which is our own product, but also on optimizing the HVAC operations as well as process utilizations. In the office space, we have reduced about 92% less emission through increased office space utilizations, and maybe I'll talk about a bit on that in the next slide. On the logistics fronts, we reduced 52% by moving to sea freight. Yeah, it takes longer, so we have to plan our inventory, production accordingly. But I think, you know, that helps us save a lot on the logistics side. Business travel, it is mandated that 80% of us are choosing to do things. Of course, COVID forced us to all go online, but we are choosing options to reduce our carbon footprint there also. We have shifted to 100% renewable energy. We have virtual power purchasing agreements. We have invested in solar in the Gulf region, as well as working with many companies actually in Malaysia also to supply our solar products. We do, as I said, we are a large manufacturing company, so everywhere it's not possible to move towards net zero or carbon neutrality. So we have some offsetting projects which is clearly measured, identified, and with social and environmental benefits. We went market by market, function by function to try and see how we could do this. And these are just some of the things that we achieved in our journey to become carbon neutral in 2020. Just to talk about, we are, of course, working with our customers now. And I've just picked up one example of trying to move to a net zero buildings of tomorrow. So of course, there's a study by UNEP which shows that almost 37% of energy-related emission comes from the building and construction sector, right? And the World Green Building Council has identified many areas, but I just picked up two of them which are relevant for this discussion. One is the accurate data that we need, because what you measure is what you can improve upon. Without the right data, you are not able to know where to act upon. And then, of course, moving to more energy-efficient lighting. So we have our connected lighting solutions, which helps customers towards their carbon neutral journey, first by, of course, saving on energy consumption, but more importantly, monitoring, providing you dashboards, all kinds of reports that you have to know how your energy consumption pattern is changing over the time. It helps environmental monitoring. The sensors that we are earlier only doing motion detection can today look at even carbon dioxide in the room, the atmospheric parameters. And of course, there's a lot of insights based on the data collected through these processes, which can be used for even things like space utilization. For example, a lot of offices today has hot desking. How does offices get designed? HR comes and say, oh, I need to hire 2,000 people. They go to admin and say, we need 2,000 work desks. But those 2,000 work desks are not occupied all the time, 100% of the time, right? Because people are traveling, people are in meetings, people are on leave, etc. Now, next year, HR wants to add 500 more people. They again come back to admin and say, hey, I want 500 more seats. But you have 600 seats, maybe 30% of the seats were not utilized at any point in time. You cannot, it's an argument between them, but now you have data to go back to tell your HR that, hey, you don't need 600 more seats. I'll accommodate 500 more people comfortably because here's the data of the seat occupancy. So many companies are using these to do space optimizations, which can also be a huge saving in these areas, right? So I can keep going on this chapter. Maybe I'll take a few questions later. We have not stopped at being carbon neutral. So in 2020, once we achieved carbon neutrality, we also set our next goal. So I'll not go through all of them, but basically the objective is to double our positive impact on the environment and society, and we call it the 2025 program. So where we have set goals for ourselves. So if you take this 1.5 degree scenario, which was part of the Paris Agreement, while I think the goal was, original deadline was 2031, but we are trying to get there by 2025. So each one of these areas, we are trying to double our positive impact on the environment and society. And yes, one of the things I also wanted to call out, as part of the mandate and the direction, it is important for corporates to stand up and make a public pledge and also report this out quarter after quarter on the progress. Wanted to share with you, if any of you log in into our quarterly financial webcast, we make a similar announcements on the progress that we are making on these goals that we have set for ourselves. You can go to our websites and see how the progress is happening. For example, if there's a target to double our circular revenue at 32%, where are we today as we speak? We just announced our quarterly results for Q3. We follow a January to December calendar, and that we announced in October. So you can go on our website and look at that. So it's not just talk, we are measuring this, we are putting it out there for you to look at it, learn from it, criticize it, and grow together in this space. These are just some of the recognitions. I'll not spend more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sukanto. Next up, please welcome Dr. Afiq Rahmat, who's leading energy transition for Shell Malaysia.
Thanks, Taufik. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum. Can I have my slides? Oh, okay. I have to start with this one here. Oh, thank you. Okay, I've been told to start with this one here. Legal advice, cautionary note here. We'll be talking about the future, and with the future, there's a lot of uncertainties, and therefore, please visit the Shell website if you prefer, if you like more information. Okay, so Shell PLC, I think across today we've heard a lot about company purpose and how we are driving our ambition towards net zero. I suppose for Shell, we have the 4 pillars here of powering progress, generating shareholder value, and then, of course, recognizing that no company works in a vacuum. We need to respect nature and empowering lives as well. And then finally, and I think this is the crux of today, is achieving net zero emissions. And the idea here is that Shell intends to profitably transition into a net zero business by 2050, together with society. And this is, of course, underpinned by our core values of respect, integrity, and there's a third one, and our focus on safety. When we talk about net zero emissions for Shell by 2050, we try to cover the whole scope, 1, 2, and 3. And we believe that our total carbon emissions from the energy sold has peaked at 1.7 gigatons per annum in 2018, and we are working our way down to net zero. And you can see obviously from here that scope 1, the ones that are direct emissions, which is probably mostly in our control, we work on scope 1 and 2, but the bigger ones, the scope 3, need to work with customers, and hence sectoral decarbonization, or working in step together with our suppliers, customers, not too different from how our palm industry friends spoke just now, is also how we intend to move. I'll bring it down to Malaysia. So here in Malaysia, I think we recognize and we hear and we acknowledge how the government has mentioned the new economic model, as well as the National Energy Transition Roadmap, 2040, 2050 respectively. So likewise, for Shell to have its presence in Malaysia, to continue to have Malaysia as its heartland, we want to move at pace with Malaysia in accordance with our carbon management hierarchy, of which we first start to avoid, we reduce, and finally only compensate. So the 4 pillars that we look at for our various businesses here in Malaysia for Shell, I'll start probably with the first 2, which is the yellow and the red, is to continue to address. Now, I think our colleagues earlier today, when talking about the National Energy Policy Roadmap, National Energy Policy 2040, energy security is very important. So the trilemma, so therefore we need to continue to meet today's energy needs. But at the same time, this is where the red comes in, carbon competitive, or making sure that our investments have the ability to be resilient in the future, needs to come hand in hand. And therefore our investments in the scope 1 takes into consideration future scope 1 and scope 2. And then the other 2 pillars here, the blue and the green, talks about how we are diversifying our product ranges, trying to figure out how we can provide low carbon powers and fuels to our customers. So this ranges from our EV suite that we launch here in Malaysia, from the high-powered ones on the North Side highways to the ones that you see in the shopping malls through Park Easy, as well as renewable natural gas and various other ranges of products. And then the final one here, talking about compensation and how we want to provide that. I think Malaysia, we have to recognize here, and I believe most of the colleagues in the room do see climate solutions, tropical climate ability to sink carbon is unique in the tropical, in this region, and that's one thing that we recognize. And hand in hand with that, carbon capture storage or storage potential of Malaysia, similar to how we are blessed with natural resources of oil and gas in abundance, we also have an abundance of store potential for carbon capture storage. So those are probably the 2 bigger levers that we focus on, and we see a potential here in Malaysia. And of course, when we do this across the suite of businesses that we work in here, we enable it through our partnerships for transition, so working very closely with the customer base and our partners, upskilling the workforce. So today, my geologists are looking at hydrocarbons. In the future, they will be looking at how we can inject carbon back into the ground. And of course, policies and regulations is something that we monitor very closely and work with strategic partners to understand and see how we can make it mutually beneficial for everyone. I think that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Afiq. Please give him a hand. Next up, if you would please welcome Mr. Unitan, who's the co-founder and CEO of DBIZ Private Limited, and he's also the president of the Malaysian Biodiesel Association. Please give him a hand, everybody.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I'd like to thank Control Union Malaysia and GSES, the co-organizers of this conference, for having invited me. Ladies and gentlemen, the moderator mentioned two of my hats. I'm the president of the Malaysian Biodiesel Association. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of a technology company called DBIS. But I also want to add a third hat. I'm very much a member of the oil palm industry for the last 38 years. So I had friends in the previous panel from the oil palm industry. And what I'd like to as I'm in the bioenergy section, my presentation outline very quickly. There are a few slides, but I would like you to focus on the meat of my presentation. And that is, the world is increasingly moving towards renewable energy, but there's a clear shift from first generation to second generation biofuels. You hear a lot about crop-based biofuels shifting to waste-based biofuels and hydro-treated vegetable oils and sustainable aviation fuels, increased capacity, which I will allude to in my presentation. Also, the EU RED2 and how it is affecting the palm biodiesel industry and other biofuels, and what's happening in general to raw materials required for HVO and UCO, and why, therefore, there is a need for a robust real-time traceability and sustainability system. And I think you heard from umpteen number of speakers during the course of today that the big elephant in the room is not scope 1 and scope 2, but scope 3. And I'd like to tell you that that is where the real detail is, and that probably requires a technical solution, and then I'd like to conclude. I just want to give a teaser here. You might be wondering, why am I presenting a used cooking oil statistics at a sustainability conference? Can you see how much used cooking oil is being exported out of Malaysia? Nearly more than 2.5 times that of palm biodiesel. And one is wondering, where is all this coming from? Look at the HVO capacity all around the world, built on the assumption that it could use palm. And I'm now wondering, where is all this HVO plants going to get their raw materials from? So I guess you are seeing where I'm leading you to. And look at EU RED2, which bans palm. So where does all this lead to? It obviously means the European Union and the rest of the world, the developing world, is not going to use crop-based biofuels for production of biofuels, but increasingly going to shift to waste. And there comes the problems of biofuel supply chain. We are accused of greenwashing, and do you think all of this used cooking oil that is going out is genuinely cooking oil? My guess is as good as yours. And therefore, you see that the European Union, which double tax incentivizes sourcing of UCO and waste materials, those taxpayers are paying for something that they don't know is it genuinely waste. So for palm oil mills too, there is no visibility beyond mills. Smallholders, we heard of that, nearly 40%. We don't know where that source comes from, how much is deforested. So there is no real-time visibility, there is no collaboration. What is the urgency? I'll skip the slide because most of you are more knowledgeable than me as to where the world is going in terms of scrutiny and due diligence required for sustainability authentication. So what we have come up with at DBIS, which is the company I co-founded together with my business partner, Srini, he is in this room. We have built a complete digital ecosystem that has been launched for palm, but is it industry agnostic. So you can use it for waste oils, you can use it for soy, you can use it for rubber, you can use it for timber. The idea is to collect data at its source, which means as activities happen and not by recording data by a voluntary disclosure. Because voluntary disclosure is subject to scrutiny and at the same time subject to being manipulated. So when you capture actual data across the supply chain, you will see we connect everybody in the supply chain and we build real-time traceability. At the end, this is an example of a biofuel supply chain. You get real-time evidence of where every single drop of used cooking oil, POMI, or any other waste oil that went into your biofuel, rather than disclose that on spreadsheets which you're not sure where it originated from. So as much as we can build a robust technology platform, the world needs to believe, and that is why we are happy to partner with Control Union, who has obviously evaluated our blockchain platform, and they're a world leader in certification. And we are happy that they bring you that additional level of assurance so that you can rely on the data that is produced by our blockchain platform. So, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, legislations around the world are going to tighten the screws on traceability. Not only the biofuel industry, the palm, the timber, the rubber, the soy, and every other industry needs a comprehensive tool. EUDR supply chains are demanding it. So it is high time that not only the biofuel industry, but all of the industries that require such a tool look at embracing digital technology. On that note, I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.
Punitan, thank you. That was great. That was great. And finally, please welcome Dato' Leong, who's president of the Malaysia Biomass Industries Confederation. Thank you. Give him a hand, please, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah. First of all, I give a brief introduction about my background. Yeah. Currently, I'm running a consulting company, Listeny, and these companies have been given the task, an uphill task by Malaysian government to develop the National Biomass Action Plan. Yeah, cover 5 sectors. Yeah. So we talk about plantation biomass, agricultural biomass, forestry biomass, from the livestock industry, and also from the fishery sectors. Yeah. And the beautiful part of this is, next month, the Malaysian government is going to launch this National Biomass Action Plan. Yeah, okay? But before I go further, I just would like to do an informal survey. How many of you have a direct interest with the biomass industry? Please raise up your hand. Anyone? Okay, I think around 20%. Okay, then I can tune my presentation accordingly. Yeah. At the same time, I'm having this Malaysia Biomass Industry Confederation. We have different members on biofertilizers, bioenergies, eco-based product, and so on. And lastly, I'm also serving as a board member in the MGDC, so I can talk on 3 perspectives: from the government, from the industry association, and also from the biomass industry perspective. Yeah. This one. The green one. Okay, next. Yeah. So this is the most important data I just updated. This is basically on the feedstock availability of the oil palm biomass industry in Malaysia. Yeah. And as I mentioned just now, we have 5 sectors. Yeah. Nevertheless, the oil palm biomass sector is the big brothers in Malaysia. Based on the statistic, oil palm biomass is equivalent to 90% of the total biomass generated in Malaysia. But the issue is, even though you look at all this data, we really have a lot. For example, oil palm frond. On a dry ton basis, we have close to 62 million, and it's largely underutilized. Yeah, 62 million is a lot. It's still underutilized. In fact, recently, there's a government-linked company. They're trying to commercialize oil palm trunk into animal feed. They couldn't pursue further because of the logistical issues, yeah, to process it, operational challenges, and so on. But the potential is there, 62 million. Then we have another one, look like aliens, EFB. Yeah. So EFB, we have another 6.97 million, yeah, dry ton basis. Yeah. Many reports tend to use EFB as a baseline to estimate the bioenergy potential in Malaysia. Yeah, okay. My cautionary note is that do not just 100% believe the content of all these reports, mainly because EFB, even though we have 7 million, yeah, but if you approach big plantation companies, for instance, Sime Darby, IOI, KLK, most of the EFB are commonly recycled back to the plantation for the purpose of mulching. So for this reason, if you want to buy EFB from these big plantation companies, very unlikely you can access the feedstock. Yeah. But there are still strategies for you to get EFBs. Yeah, okay? And the third one is mesocarp fiber. Mesocarp fiber, again, is also lastly used by the palm oil mill as a green fuel to power their boiler. Yeah, okay? That's why it's hardly you can get mesocarp fibers from a palm oil mill as well. Same as palm kernel shell, we have 4.23 million here. Out of 4.23 million, about 3 million are used by the local industry, either by the palm oil mill or by the local manufacturing industry. They buy PKS as a green fuel for their boiler. And we have another 1.25 million exported to Japan as a green fuel with an average price of 100 USD. Yeah. So if you want to buy PKS, it will trigger a price war. But the good news is that PKS recently have triggered price correction, especially for those who are exported to Japan. So if you want to buy PKS now, right now is a better timing to access PKS for local consumption. Again, it's a commodity. Okay? And oil palm trunk, we also have a lot, but unfortunately, it is always available, but it's not accessible. Yeah. Okay? Why it's not accessible? Because the oil palm plantation players are not disposing it in large quantity. Yeah. In fact, in the formulation of the National Biomass Action Plan, we make a lot of recommendations to Malaysian government, especially Ministry of Plantation and Commodity and Malaysia Palm Oil Board, how the government can actually play a very effective enabling role to unlock the feedstock of oil palm biomass to the industry. Yeah. But to find out further, you have to attend next month's conference, where is another platform organized by Ministry of Plantation to launch the National Biomass Action Plan. Because this document is an embargo document right now, I'm not allowed to disclose too much details. Yeah, okay? But nevertheless, so this give you an overview of the oil palm biomass industry availability. Even you look at POME, I just got the latest statistic, from MPOB. We have 451 palm oil mill in the country. Out of 451 palm oil mill, we have 140 palm oil mill, they have the biogas trapping facility. But from 141 palm oil mill, only about 40 plus have the feed-in tariff facility. So in other words, to unlock the potential of POME, we forget about feed-in tariff biogas, but instead we have to look into biomethane. Yeah, because we have some limitation because of the interconnection point issues, yeah, to enable biogas feed-in tariff initiative. Okay, I would like to do it slightly different from my presentation today. Yeah, I just threw some important questions. Yeah, to enable the bioenergy sectors, what are the best business model? We actually we have two major business models. One is for local consumption, yeah, either used by the manufacturing industry or connect to the grid, or we even export to overseas. Yeah, okay, so these are the general business models. But from here, we can even split a few more. Yeah. And the second issue is, do we actually have enough accessible feedstock? I give you one realistic figures, which I just track it from the National Biomass Action Plan. Yeah. Last year, not last year, up to the year 2020, we have about 444 bioenergy installed capacity by the various industry in Malaysia. I repeat the figure, 444, 444 installed capacity. Out of 444 installed capacity for bioenergy, only 70 is connected to the grid. It means about 370 megawatt is basically used by the manufacturing industry on their own as a green fuel. So in other words, the industry are actually doing very well to capture biomass as a bioenergy for own consumption based on government statistics. That's why you are not surprised. A lot of biomass boiler companies are actually doing very well in Malaysia. Okay? Because biomass are lastly have been used as a green fuel to power the manufacturing operation. Okay? And are there enough enablers from the government? This is a very important question to ask, and the answer will be unveiled next month during the National Biomass Action Plan. And is bioenergy the best circular economy models? In Malaysia biomass context, the answer is no. If we use EFB as a benchmark, based on our calculation, when we turn EFB into biofertilizer, the greenhouse gas emission reduction impact is much more better than bioenergy. Yeah, okay. And again, how to achieve all the target as per various government plan. In fact, ARENA, they highlighted in their Malaysia Energy Transitional Outlook report, one of the issues, encountered by Malaysia government to unlock the bioenergy potential, we have too many government machineries. So this is the time maybe we look into how to reduce the bureaucracy as recommended by ARENA. Okay? And lastly, allow me to have some airtime. This is organized by the government. This is anyone interested in biomass? So this is the first time we have a National Biomass Action Plan. Will be launched on the 7th December by Dato Sri Fatela. So you are welcome, to join this conference or to join this telegram to access the information. I reserve my best answer for the Q&A later. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leong. Thank you, everyone. Look, we went a little bit over time on the presentations, but I kept it because, first of all, a lot of them answered some of the questions I had, certainly, and then it was quite detailed. So anyone in the audience, before I fire off questions, anyone in the audience wants to volunteer with a question? Anyone at all? Well, I'll give you a couple minutes just to keep things moving. I'll start with one, and then if you guys can just start to think about your questions, as Supun mentioned earlier, you can also use Slido to submit your question, although in the interest of time, maybe it may be easier for you to just speak up just after the first one. Look, I want to transition the second part more to challenges. I think we want to obviously celebrate our successes and the initiatives we're taking, but I think it's really important as an industry to be grounded on what the challenges are. So, Dr. Afiq, I warned you a little bit, so I may hit you very early on, but the thing, we'll keep this interesting this afternoon. It's late, right? The thing I think that's on everyone's mind is this $100 million carbon credit offset plan that Shell recently scrapped. I think we all like sensational news, that's fine, but I think the purpose of a conference like this is ground us on what that means. Sure. It doesn't mean you're abandoning your net zero goals or anything like that. What is the implication and what is Shell doing about it? And whatever you can share as far as context for the audience.
Thanks, Taufik. So indeed, our new CEO, Wael Sawan, middle of this year during the during our Capital Markets Day, announced new business targets and at the same time retired a few. But I think what's important to note is that our sustainability and climate targets still stands. I think carbon offsets, so carbon compensations, and even nature-based solutions are still very critical levers to achieve net zero, but they're not the only levers in space. So just to give some numbers, last year itself, we retired 5.8 million carbon credits through our environmental products and trading businesses. But at the same time, we look at other levers and maybe to bring it to the Malaysia context and how Malaysia probably stands out a bit differently. Our friends here from Biofuel, we also have interest in eco oils. We bought them and also invested a bit on a small startup called Arus Oil, I think. They have a very unique way of aggregating used cooking oil. So we see a lot of potential in other means as well, and we don't want to artificially say that, okay, nature-based solutions, this is how we'll invest it from year on year. We would rather move along together with society, looking at how demand grows, and with that, find other avenues to achieve that net zero. Maybe I'll give one more, so just to go through the value chain. In the upstream world right now, our oil and gas investments, when we pull out our wellhead platforms, so in Encik Muta, you used to go out there, our wellhead platforms are now 60% lighter than it used to be. And it's all powered by solar as well, solar and wind. So we try to find other innovative ways as well, and we try to move together with the market in trying to understand how we can reach net zero, I think.
Thank you, Afiq. Like I said, this is a professional conference, so I think the net takeaway is that, yes, there's a change in strategy, but there's not necessarily a change in goals. It's the means that's different. Just moving very quickly, again, I'm going to look around the audience. We only have 15 minutes left, so if anyone has questions, please think fast and raise your hands. In the meantime, Unitan, I'll go to you a little bit. Again, in the spirit of challenges, it seems like energy-efficient lighting is a no-brainer for anybody, but what do you, when you're trying to influence the whole market and the world really, what challenges do you encounter specifically in Malaysia? And can you talk about some of the things that you guys are doing to overcome them?
Yeah, so is this, oh, it's working. So I think the challenge has been, like I think we have been discussing through the day and in other such forums, that there is an investment required today to move to sustainable solutions, right? The gains are not obvious today, but we all need to make that investment if we want a low carbon future, we want to bring down temperatures and all the resulting impacts. Let me give you two examples. We decided in 2020, when we became carbon neutral, to make all our consumer product packaging plastic free, right? Now the consumers don't like it because it is less glossy. People want glossy packaging, right? But it is helping us save thousands of tons of plastic. Over time, of course, consumers have accepted this and now they are ready to move on. But initial days, those were not there, right? You buy the light fixtures. We have light fixtures which are 3D printed luminaires. Now, right from the design of that luminaire goes into what we call assembling for disassembly, keeping in mind, right? You put in products which can be easily disassembled and recycled. So for the, we use one of those products that we have launched, uses ocean plastics, right, as a raw material. Now, research shows that 46% of that ocean waste that is there are the fishing nets, right? And these could, of course, endanger the marine life out there. We are using that waste as a raw material, and we are making these light fixtures, which each one of those light fixtures, which we call Coastal Breeze, by the way, uses up to fishing nets wastage, which could save up to 4 equivalent marine lives, right? But yes, those are things that you need to look at and say, hey, do I need to invest this versus go down and buy the cheapest lighting product which is there from China, which is available in the market?
Yeah, thank you, Sukanto. It's just, I guess, always taking a more of a long-range view on things. Look, any questions from the audience? I have two. I have time for maybe two more. As I wait for you, maybe I ask Mukhtar. Right to my left, the Kemaman supply base, it's such a large oil and gas supply base, and you're in that core business that traditionally has caused a lot of the emissions globally. How do you think of your role, both internally in your operations and then also in the world at large with your customer base, in transitioning companies and organizations to net zero? And if you can talk to us about one or two of your challenges that are really difficult and how you guys overcome them.
I think the key thing that we need to do is that we need to integrate ESG principles in all our investment strategies and decision making. I think, as you know, Kemaman Supply Base was started back in 1980s, 1981. And a lot of facilities are now quite old. We have 45 warehouses in total in Kemaman Supply Base. So recently, we embarked into a new strategy of rooftop solar on how to make sure that most of our facilities will be complete with rooftop solar. And we did some survey, but not all the facilities are able to be completed with rooftop solar. But we are embarking on this strategy together with the TNB subsidiary, G-Sparks. And next year, based on this new strategy, we are going to produce 1.6 megawatts of energy from this rooftop solar. And for the new warehouses, we make decision that all the new warehouses must be built with solar, rooftop solar. And then natural air ventilation, so to ensure it's a really environmentally friendly. The second one, we also made decision that for our port, for example, is to be a green port by 2023. And that's require a lot of new initiative, investment, and so on. And I think for our supply base, we are also trying to see how, because we have add subsidiaries. Epic Solar is the producer of renewable energy through our solar farm. And KSB, we consume a lot of power, a lot of energy annually. So we are now embarking, trying to see how we can be part of this VPPA initiative, Virtual Power Purchase Agreement, where Epic Solar will be the producer and KSB will be the receiver, and we need to have this agreement of the strike price and so on. So I think there are a lot of challenges, but I think it's key for, in Epic itself, for any new investment, the strategies for new investment, and any decision we want to make in the future must be to integrate ESG principles in all the decisions that we are going to make.
Yeah, I guess it boils down to, all eyes are on your industry, and it boils down to leading by example, like the way you run your business. Last question, and it's really for, because Unitan and Dato Leong, you guys represent, you're both entrepreneurs, but at the same time, you're the opposite, you're representing industry bodies. If you wouldn't mind putting your industry body hat on for this question, the question is for both of you, and it's around regulatory compliance, exports versus imports. So, Dato Leong, for you, as the demand for a lot of the feedstock of biomass is a big part of that for biofuels. Demand for exports is going to grow, but then you have domestic needs. How does your organization handle that? And Unitan, whichever of you wants to go first, doesn't matter. The question for you is similar. There's regulatory compliance, specifically in a previous panel, the EU was mentioned as the market that causes the most noise, right? And that's not a negative. They're just maybe, I would say, a bit ahead of the rest of the world in these types of things. How does, again, the Biofuels Association support all its members in complying with those regulations? So,
Tough questions, yeah? Okay. For export and domestic market comparison, as far as the Malaysian government is concerned, they prefer the biomass resources to be kept in Malaysia, yeah, so that we can tap the energy potential and reduce our greenhouse gas emission, yeah. All the while, the Japanese market, the EU market, and also the Korean market have been paying a premium price to buy our biomass fuel, solid biomass fuel. Yeah. But recently, I would like to announce that Malaysia price offered locally is even better than the export price right now. Yeah, okay? And it's already materialized. And for those who have the biomass in hand, you can actually just supply locally rather than to export directly. Yeah, okay? And for the solid biomass fuel, at the moment, the EU is not the major customers. The major customers actually come from Japan and Korea. Yeah, but EU offer the highest price. Yeah, they really have the price premium. I have the trade data with me actually. Yeah, but nevertheless, they also have EUDR, CBAM, and so on. So these are also, barriers, for market entry. Yeah. And in the National Biomass Action Plan, we do have some recommendation because under Ministry of Plantation and Commodity, they have the training arm. We call it IMPACT. Yeah, so can actually organize more training programs to build up the capacity of the SMEs, how to comply with CBAM and also EUDR. This is part of the plan. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Dato Leong. Unitan, last few minutes for you.
Yeah, as far as the palm biodiesel industry is concerned, we face problems in our single biggest export market, which is EU, because under EU RED 2, they're going to phase out palm-based biofuels by 2030. So talking about exports and imports, we used to export close to 600,000, we're down to 300,000, and we're going to be down to zero very soon. So clearly it is dependent on the local mandate. So that's about export and import. But looking at the industry as such, there has been so much of investment that we still must find lucrative export markets and have to comply with EUDR, CBAM, many others that are required. And I personally, having been in the industry for a very long time and associated with biofuels since 2000, I believe there are some 4 or 5 big challenges that the industry faces when it is export or market facing. For example, they demand real-time traceability. It's a big challenge. They demand that you need to provide real-time deforestation metrics. They demand that how do you bring smallholders who contribute 40%? You cannot be opaque to that. We produce extremely biodiesel is a downstream molecule like oleochemicals. How do you provide real-time evidence of such molecules traceable to the farm? And last but not the least, how do you do all of this in a very cost-effective way? And that's where I am a firm believer, as being part of the industry, that it is technology and technology alone that can help us solve and meet these challenges. Thank you.
Nitin, thank you. I hope everyone enjoyed. Please give all the panelists a hand. It was your last panel. And I will turn it back to the MC for the next session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Supun, I think maybe your second last walk up the stairs. We have just a last round of little tokens to give away to all our speakers, panelists, etc. Oh no, fell. Luckily it's made out of wood, so everything's good. So thank you again to our sponsors for these little tokens that we have. It's been a long day, but smile, everybody. And we are nearing the end. And we will end the day with something very exciting. Now I ask for Mr. Tawfiq Hamid, Mr. Manoharan Menon, and Mr. Supun to remain on stage for a short while. And yet another, our last announcement for today, Control Union is delighted to unveil a strategic partnership with Veridapt, a pioneering force in the digital transformation of commodity monitoring and management.
Today, more than ever, basic food sources are needed worldwide. Metals to manufacture solar panels, wind farms, electric transportation and hydrocarbons such as oil and gas remain integral commodities in the world's energy mix. That's why at Veridapt, commodities matter and everything we build matters. Our mission is to build transparency solutions that bridge the physical and the digital to manage operations, mitigate risk and contribute to ESG goals. We build real-time technology that enables security, savings and liquidity for our clients. We build trust.
Our vision is to lead the digital revolution to full transparency across commodities for a secure, and sustainable future. Now, all this is being made possible by great people doing amazing things here at Veridat.